Hey everybody, it's Megan and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, welcome. Today I am going to be reviewing A Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. So come along and let's talk about it. All right, it is that time. It is time to talk about A Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This book, I will say, is my second Emily Henry, so I am a little bit behind. I have several on my shelf that I have not read, and it did not disappoint. I gave this book 4.5 hot chocolates because, as a reminder, I am reading with hot chocolate. Therefore, instead of stars, I give hot chocolates. And I really did enjoy this book. Our two main characters are Alice and Hayden, and really a third main character is Margaret. So Alice is an aspiring author. She does write a lot of pop culture articles and that kind of thing. But she has been a fan of Margaret and Margaret's husband's music and careers because Margaret's more of the socialite, her husband was more of the musician. But she was big fans of them her whole life growing up. It was kind of a connection thing with her dad. And she decided that she was going to try to find Margaret because Margaret has gone MIA after her husband's death many, many years ago. So Alice is following these breadcrumbs, trying to find Margaret because she wants to write her story. We have Hayden, and he is an award-winning author. He did the biography of a famous musician. He spent years with him writing this biography. And we end up with Alice and Hayden in the same town with Margaret because she's basically giving them both the opportunity to write her story. Starts off kind of odd because you're trying to figure out, like, why would Margaret call two authors and then have them compete for her attention and her story? And there's a whole lot that goes into it, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there is a twist at the end about the why. And we start off with Alice and Hayden not really knowing how to trust each other, but you kind of feel like there's like this little bit of instant connection. I will say that Alice is your sunshine for sure. Hayden, grumpy. When I heard Hayden, all I picture now is Hayden Christensen in that role as kind of like young, grumpy Anakin. So it kind of fits in my brain. And they both sign NDAs, so they can't talk to each other about work, so they can't compare notes. And it's kind of an odd thing. And Alice seems to be getting more from Margaret than Hayden is. Hayden tells her at one point that it seems like Margaret is asking him more questions than he is actually asking her. And Alice can't really say anything because she's like, I've gotten like the whole story. So does this mean that I'm going to get the book and you're just here for the run of the competition, or like what is going on? But they can't talk about it. So they find other things to talk about and enjoy. They both love ending up at diners late at night. And like I said, there is that tension there. It's a little bit of a will they, won't they. But I will say, I wrote in my reading journal when they do have their first kiss, I wrote, oh my God, that kiss, because it was just like electric. And if this gets made into a movie, they better not mess that scene up. I'm just saying. And it's a great kind of dual timeline. So you are getting Margaret's story of her grandfather and great grandfather starting kind of this media empire that her and her sister are born into. It kind of gives you that reminder that money and fame don't buy everything, and that there's a lot that comes at a cost when you live in the public eye. And it explores how her and her sister handled that, how they didn't handle it in some cases, and what it meant for them later in life. And it's just a really kind of good reminder of what you see on the outside is not always what's happening on the inside when you look at your favorite celebrities and people in the media. Both Alice and Hayden feel like Margaret is not being completely honest with them, and they can't quite put their finger on it. Alice continuously is like, I'm missing something. Something is not right here. What the hell's going on? And Alice is also trying to figure out, like, how is she the only one that has been able to find Margaret? Like, who really led her here? It couldn't have been an accident because yes, she follows the clues and she finds her. But as you go throughout the story, you find out a little bit about who may have been laying those clues and why. I did give this 1.5 chili peppers because there is some spice in there. But I will say that it's more plot driven than spicy. It's not a romance where you're just like all the smut is happening. It's a lot more about the story of Alice, Hayden, and Margaret, and the people in Margaret's lives, and how we get to where we are when we meet Margaret. I really, really liked it. I would say my favorite Emily Henry book is still Book Lovers, because I think other than this one, that maybe have been the only one I've read. So this would be second place for me, but I've only read two. Uh, but overall, really great read. I thought it was fantastic. And if you guys want me to post spoiler videos, like, let me know, because I will give spoilers, because the twist was crazy at the end of this book. But I don't want to give it away, because I don't want people to stop watching or not feel like they can watch because I give spoilers. So I'm trying really hard not to give spoilers. Let me know if you want spoilers. One of the subplots of this story is Alice's relationship with her mother. As you're reading it, you kind of go, dude, Alice's mom, she sucks. Like, she doesn't understand Alice. She doesn't want to try to understand Alice. And Alice has a sister who was really ill as a child. So I think that that really skews Alice's view of her life and how her parents and her mom interact with her. So there's a lot of conversation between Alice and her mom about their relationship. Honestly, I didn't write a lot down with this book because there was just a lot going on. Hearing how Margaret's family became who they are in the history of this universe was kind of cool. You get to hear about her great grandfather and her grandfather and then her father, and how that all connected to make her who she is and why she made the choices she made in her life. If you watched my video from earlier in the week, this was the last book I read before I took a reading break, and it shows, y'all. I did not take as many notes, and I wasn't keeping as good of track of things because my brain just was having a really hard time focusing. Not for the fault of the book, because I had just read a lot and I needed a break. But overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this book. I have not come across an Emily Henry book that I don't like yet. If that changes, you guys will be the first to know. And forever and always, the name Hayden will make me think of Hayden Christensen. But I would definitely read this. Like I said, I gave it 4.5 hot chocolates. So go and check it out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. I'll see you again real soon.